is time to rip off the mask, get to the task, and jump into the rotation. It's Sunday, and it's time for the rotation. My name is Gary Stein. I'm your political director of Suncoast Normal with my host of the most, Carlos Angel Armida.
Hi, Gary.
And
yo, that was like scary.
Good, wake up. From the Beltway, our director, Chris Cano.
Hi, Kano.
And
hello.
Today by telling you a quick story. Now, folks, this is a joke that contains irony and satire, so please react accordingly. Anyways, what I was saying.
They won't get it.
Well, I just put it in there ahead of time just to be on the safe side because people are going to get a freak. But what I'm basically I was driving to Kissimmee last night to drop off some food to my daughter who's still waiting to come off a furlough. And I noticed that my right headlight was out, and it really kind of started freaking me out for a while because I realized, it's dark out.
Yeah,
it's dark out. I'm in Polk County, and
shit.
they can't tell I'm white.
Yeah,
I just felt maybe my white privilege was stripped from me.
And
I'm gonna get pulled over. I mean, I felt so naked.
Some of those guys, if they find out you're Jewish, that can't be good.
No, they haven't got to the Jews yet, but I'm certain that they're working on it. But they definitely have gotten to people of color for many, many years.
Yes.
And Chris, I mean, you're actually more on the Anglo side, but you got pulled over, correct? When you had the product that you're bringing to your dad.
Yeah. My wife and I were talking about this yesterday. All the makings to have the complexion for the protection, to be able to, drive in a Ford SUV, it was just tan colored, so there was nothing sticking out about the car with the exception of I had a bumper sticker that said, sign the petition for Amendment 2.
Ah, damn. Caught by your own politics.
Yeah. Yep. Incriminated by your own politics.
So they pulled you over for just a bumper sticker.
He pulled me over saying that my tail light was out. But what I noticed while I was handcuffed in the backseat of the car and they're towing my car away on the tow truck is both of the lights are working just fine.
Huh. They just weren't working for you.
No, they apparently they worked just fine, Gary. I would say that, that in itself, cops got nothing better to do. Maybe he's behind on his quota for the month. He needs a collar. You see someone with a legalizer bumper sticker. There's probably an 80 to 90% chance you're going to catch him with some bud.
And we worked hard in Hillsborough County to get a civil citation bill going. I remember it was at that particular morning over at City Hall, it was you, me, and Mike Bernardi and a whole bunch of other folks went there and testified, and we got it done. But the one thing that we still had to deal with was that it was still officer discretion involved. And What does that mean? What tips the scales for an officer to decide whether he's going to arrest you or not arrest you?
That is a very good question, Gary. And as long as we have racist cops on the police force, we're going to see a skew among certain demographics. Tampa Police Department was actually investigated by the federal government because their bicycle citation program, at one point, 9 out of every 10 bicycle citation tickets were given to Black males in the city. And If you're telling me that 6% of the city's population makes up 90% of any crime, I'll tell you from a sociology and a social scientist standpoint, there is some type of inherent bias involved. It doesn't make sense.
But we've been doing this for quite a few years. The war on drugs really started in the 70s and accelerated in the 80s with the Clinton administration. And then, of course, they threw in the RICO laws in the 1980s that made people who were caught with maybe an ounce or so end up getting 25 years in prison, sometimes even life.
Yeah.
So we've had to deal with this for a long time. And it is actually a good thing that this next week, during the thank you, during one of the Judiciary Committee meetings, which is headed by Senator Jeff, they're actually going to be taking up Senator Bracey's cannabis offense expungement law. And this is at a time when they were telling us we're not going to be hearing any bills this current recession because we're so busy with COVID and trying to knock down rioters by making everybody a deputized vigilante. These little things. But there actually is a bill that was written by Bracey for expungement that is coming up and will be actually heard on Monday. at 3:30 in the afternoon in the Knott's building, so you could actually watch it on the Florida channel and all that bit. It's a pretty straightforward bill. They put an amendment to tweak a couple things. Basically, if you were caught a couple of years ago with 20 grams or less, and you served your time and you've done all your probation so that you're no longer under supervision, then you can put out a petition to apply to have your record expunged. All those things that would hold you back for so many things, including college scholarships and loans and other things that would dog you for the rest of your life. It's about time they've come to the realization that a non-violent offense like possession should not dog you for the rest of your life. It's a shame that we actually have to be in committee to actually talk about this. It should have been just done.
Here's my thing, though, because I mean, I've been arrested twice for cannabis possession, and I've actually already had my record expunged. And and you only really get one shot at that, right? Like, so what's gonna happen to me? Did I already lose my shot at expungement?
Well, if your record's already been expunged, there's nothing to worry about that.
Well, then, but I've lost my expungement. What if I get arrested for something else? What if I'm, become a mushroom advocate and, get caught with mushrooms in a plastic bag or something like that? Like, it's not like everything in my life is legit, Gary.
Well, here's the deal. I mean,
everybody gets one, Carlos. That's the rule of the universe. Everybody gets one.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody else is gonna get their record expunged, but I don't get my expungement back. Can I get my expungement back?
Well, actually, you have to commit a crime to have it expunged.
Oh,
so here's the deal: don't do a crime. That is basically it. I mean, there are ways we have put in place over these last 4 years, and we worked real hard to do it to make this legal. And of course, there have been those in Tallahassee who find a robust regulation far more in their comfort zone than for us to have full freedom with what we should have for the same thing we have for alcohol. If you're actually carrying 2 or 3 bottles of vodka you have not opened up in your back seat, you're not going to get arrested for it. But if you happen to have 2 or 3 Ace in your back seat that are marked from MMTC, you will get arrested. And yet you're not imbibing, you're just transporting, possibly just to go straight from home.
And that's the thing too. I mean, if the 10% THC cap passes, you can't expect me to get my medicine from MMTC. I'm going to be forced to go back to the black market. Look at all the comments we've had so far today about how, if this cap passes. So like, I mean, I don't know.
Okay, Joshua, it is true. Last I heard, we are on the Anglo side. we are people of faded color. That is basically what we are. But however, I think
we could
in the age of intelligence and empathy, I would say that we do understand what being racially profiled means, even if it doesn't happen to us.
I wouldn't say that we understand, but we can look at statistics and acknowledge that it's there. Well,
if any of my teammates from high school are watching, they can attest to how many times me as the driver was pulled over as we were going somewhere, because I had a car. My uncle graduated medical school. He bought a new car, and he gave me his car when I was 15. So I had a car from a very young age. I did all the driving around, in high school among my friends. And we've been pulled over in multiple counties, multiple cities, so as far as, yes, I personally do not know what it's like to be racially profiled and pulled over, but I know what it's like when all your other friends in the car are the reason that you're getting pulled over, and it's not right. It's not sat right with me since I was a kid, and it doesn't sit right with me now that we have bias in policing the way we do. And cannabis prohibition has been used as a policy in this country for over 80 years. I don't know if anybody saw the recent Hulu documentary about Billie Holiday, but they talk about how, anybody who was standing up for civil rights and people of color standing up for civil rights during the Jim Crow era, their drug use was something that the feds wanted to popularize, criminalize. They put Louis Armstrong in jail for smoking reefer.
I'm looking at the bill. They were asking about whether it's really expensive to be expunged. I don't see a fee in here, but there is a fee bill that's attached to it. And I don't have the information on that bill to say what the fees are.
I mean, expungements as it stands right now is pretty expensive.
How much did you
That's
pay?
what I can't remember, but I had to hire a lawyer. I had to have court time. I had fees that I had to pay.
If you do the paperwork yourself, it's only like $75.
It's only like $75.
But that's the whole key. It's like you can't screw up on that type of paperwork, right? You
you can't make a single mistake.
You don't screw up on legal paperwork and your taxes. Those are the two things that in this country, if you screw up on, it can cost you your freedom. It can cost you a lot. You know what they say: death and taxes, the only two things that are certain. Uncle Sam will get theirs.
Well, I don't know, man. They definitely got mine in the first expungement, and now everybody else is gonna get their shit expunged for free. I'm just upset. I just had all the fucking I don't know. I lost my expungement. I shouldn't have even gotten arrested in the first place.
I can find it for you. Now it has been how many minutes are we into the show now?
How many minutes have we been doing it?
How many minutes in the show are we now?
11.
We're like
15 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
And how many comments have we gotten so far about the cap?
A lot.
Do you think they want to hear us talk about the cap?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm struggling to put them up. I'm putting up stuff about us being racists on the street.
You are a racist. You keep on using that marijuana word.
You're racist for telling a Latino not to.
Like a real American.
You're racist for telling a Latino not to use a Spanish word.
And you're a Latino?
I am a gringo Latino.
There you go. You got to get the adjective right. That's important. I got some very good Afro-Cuban friends, and they really know how to carry a beat.
TAC cap. Where are we at, Gary?
By the way, Johnny Pacheco passed away at 85 weeks. Fine, all stars, my favorites and all that kind of stuff. So we continue on, but anyways.
Yeah, where are we at?
That was stuck in my head along with Ferry Cross to Mersey. For some reason, it's stuck in my head.
Come on, Gary. Let's talk about the cat, man.
Gary, what are you medicated on this morning, Gary? What are you medicated on this morning, Gary? Because your mind is everywhere. We just want to know.
It's the new nitro cold brew chocolate stout from Dunkin' Donuts.
We both got Dunkin' Donuts,
and a fair amount of do-si-do last night, which I think is still hanging.
It's the Dunkin' Donuts with the do-si-do. Got it.
There you go.
That
sounds very musical, doesn't it?
Let's do this. All right, it passed the committee, right? It passed the House committee.
It passed the House committee, and that was a show of shit.
A show of shit.
Essentially. And the representative who brought the bill out, Representative Spencer Roach, who is a veteran and has been now for 2 terms now, he did an amazing amount of bullshit in front of the testimony thing. Senator Lauren Book put out a bill last year or year before saying that if you lie in testimony, you can be held liable. Nobody was taking notes with a cop right next to him. I think Rep Roach got away with his white privilege as far as that's concerned, because there was so many, let's just say, non-verital items in his speech. We used to say lies, but I guess in the last 4 years people stopped using that word because it became too used too often.
Gary, I believe the Florida GOP they're going is not lies, it's alternative facts.
That's the way it is, and coming from an alternative universe. Basically, this was the deal. He came up there saying, we have to worry about the kids. We have to worry about adults because all this psychosis is coming on, because Bertha Madras has told us about all this psychosis and how young minds are being twisted and exploded by cannabis. And as the process of the testimony went on, as the facts were added on that were obviously fake, you finally came at the end of the conversation to what his real motivation is. And basically he said, people in Florida are abusing this cannabis program that we created. Doctors are getting rich by prescribing or recommending too many milligrams of THC. And as far as the people are concerned, they're drug seekers just seeking to get high.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And half a million Floridians are just a bunch of junkies. That was basically his testimony. Now
realize, of course, the 500,000 are just the ones who are actually in the registry. Those people who decided they did not want to get a card, who did not want to have their name on a list in Tallahassee that the police also have access to if necessary. People who did not want to have to pay doctors and the fees and things of that sort to get a medical card. There is obviously a heck of a lot more than 500,000 patients here in the state of Florida. That's only 2.5% of the population. If you look at all the various states that have medical cannabis, a population that has medical licenses usually ranges between 6 and 10%. So we have a long way to go before we actually register everybody who needs.
So we're not even seeing national benchmarks when it comes to actual numbers of patients that are typically have chronic debilitating medical conditions.
That's right. Now, Oklahoma, and I love talking about Oklahoma because of the fact it is a conservative state with a highly liberal cannabis program. They actually met 10% saturation in 2 years when they got their program going. And because people found it to be very easy to do, and it's amazing, but arrests have gone down tremendously in Oklahoma because there's nothing to arrest them for. People are obeying the law because it's so easy to obey the law. You make a law hard, you're going to have more people who are going to be scofflaws because they find it, they go for the easiest path. And for a lot of people, meeting their guy on the corner or the guy on Instagram who gives you a drop point or whatever else goes on this day and age, that is still easier for some folks than to take that card, get to the MMTC and pay the prices that we have here. We were just discussing before the show started how Florida's prices are pretty much higher than most folks in the country right now.
Yo, a gram for rosin. I mean, $95 for a gram of rosin. Crazy.
Yeah, Planet 13
crazy.
Actually had at
$95.
Yeah, that's what
95. Like as in $5 away from a C note, $5 away from a Benjamin Franklin. Do you mean to tell me that it takes a whole Benjamin to get a gram of rosin in the legal market right now?
Yo, yeah, it does.
And with this cap, which caps flower at 10% and concentrate at 60%, you will find folks who are patients who may find themselves switching to concentrate just to try to budget themselves to have enough to take care of their medicine. We've heard the expression prescription strength all the time on the ads on TV. What the heck does that mean? Well, usually it means that if you actually have a condition that you're treating, you're going to need something stronger than what you can get at the Walgreens on the corner there. You need something more than just over-the-counter strength. You need prescription strength because you actually have an illness that you're working on. And yet, Representative Roche basically portrays people in Florida not as patients, but basically as folks in an adult use program who are just seeking out the best price, and they're upset they're going to have to buy more if they cap the THC 10%. But here's the deal, Rep Roach. They're not going after the higher THC because of the fact they want to get higher. It's because they want to get weller. They want to get over their disease, be it cancer. And they say, well, don't worry, we have a carve out. You can, if you're terminal, you can have the higher THC. Well, isn't that nice? You have to be deemed terminal, which means that you are stage 4, not stage 3 or stage 2 on cancer, because those aren't necessarily terminal. You have to be deemed terminal. And at that point in time, it may be too late for your cannabis to work correctly. Always prevention and early detection of everything. You've heard that in cancer is critical to survival. If you have to wait until you're deemed terminal, you may end up too late.
And here's my thing about the kids, man. They're always trying to talk about the kids, bro. And so 2 things about it, right? First off, the whole thing about cannabis developing psychosis. We talked about that quite a bit on the show. More of a chance of getting psychosis if your mom and dad had it and it runs in your family, right? Second, right? The whole study, it comes up sometimes where it's like in developing brains, like teenagers and whatnot, if they smoke weed at when they're 16 or on, you have to be a fully developed adult to start smoking weed so it doesn't damage any brain development.
By fully developed, you mean over 5'3"?
I don't. How tall are you, Gary?
5'3".
So here's the thing, though. It's from what I know about cannabis, right? It should, and cannabinoids and the endocannabinoid system and, the human body and its development, it shouldn't really, actually more cannabis should be helpful in the development of the brain. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody can put in the comments about whether or not that study is bullshit or they know anything about it, or if you guys know anything about that study being bullshit. But I really think we should be giving more cannabis to our kids, believe it or not. That might sound like a shocking statement, but I really think our children, for their future, they need more weed.
I mean, there was a seminal study that came out of Jamaica in the 1960s. A woman who was doing work for, I believe it was Peace Corps, something to that effect, who were working with the kids in Jamaica. She was having a hard time finding mothers who were not using cannabis during pregnancy, actually, to get the control group. But eventually, she got the control group together and the group that was using cannabis during pregnancy, and then follow those kids for 12 years. And they found that the kids from moms who used cannabis during pregnancy and on forward, actually, the kids thrived better than those mothers who were not on there. And in part, it may have been because of the fact that the moms were just of better health. Usually the health of the baby is denoted by the health of the mom and the health of her mom and the health of her mom. That's why we have a multi-generational effect.
And also, if you look at the children that breastfeed do better, right? Just generally, right? And the fact that there's endocannabinoids, that the mother is actually passing cannabinoids on to the baby when she's breastfeeding. That's why the baby looks high after it feeds, because it
was like that all the time.
Nom, nom, nom. But that's the thing, dude. It's like we're using cannabinoids already, endocannabinoids within ourselves, right? We believe already that there, with a deficiency in those endocannabinoids, are causing issues to the brain. I think that the problem is that our children aren't getting enough cannabinoids to their brain in brain development. This Roach guy does not know what he's talking about when it comes to the human body, and that is absolutely prevalent in everything he says.
Well, Carlos, you hit that on the head. Cannabinoids exist in breast milk, naturally produced by the human body. Gary in his book that he wrote, The Great Green Hope. Gary, I remember reading in your book, the fact that hemp is no longer used as a food stock in the American agricultural sector, in particular in our meat farms, whether it's sheep or cows or chickens, pigs. The fact that hemp is not part of their foodstuffs means that cannabinoids were not making it into our animal proteins at sufficient quantities, and we see a change of that in the American diet, in the American health system. And I want to go back to the study in Jamaica that you mentioned, because in the study it was shown there were no significant differences between infants exposed in the womb to cannabis and those that weren't by day 3. And at 1 month, they showed that babies that had been exposed to cannabis showed better physiological stability and required less facilitation to get the baby's attention. And then the ones who had mothers who were among the heaviest cannabis users had better scores on their autonomic stability, the quality of their alertness. They were less irritable babies. They had better self-regulation, and even their nannies and their caregivers said that they were better babies. So if cannabinoids are a vital part of the human immune system, if it's something that's produced by our bodies, and cannabis helps fill that gap, essentially what we're saying is that marijuana is a medicine, a vitamin, if you will. And that's why we see so many hemp products now being pushed throughout the legal market as nutritional supplements, as dietary supplements. And Carlos, you have a wide variety of those products, not only for humans, but also for pets, because the cannabinoid system also exists in anything that essentially has a spine. Fish have it, dogs have it.
Got CBD for horses once.
You have CBD for horses.
We almost bought it. We figured that there wasn't a big demographic for horses in Ybor City.
No.
Like there's CBD for horses is what I'm trying to say. Like there's people that have companies that are making money because they sell CBD for horses. Like there's CBD for cats, dogs. There's any animal, like you were saying.
Yeah, my dog, he's 10 years old. He's an American Bulldog. Their breed tends to have hip dysplasia as a common ailment as they get older. And he has the early signs of it. Well, you could even see the muscle loss on his hind. And you can see how he was getting smaller and smaller. I got the CBD from you, Carlos, at Chillum. I put it on his food for a whole month, and his muscle mass is back. He's a healthier dog again. He's up, moving around. He runs around. He has a 2-year-old sister who drives him crazy, who's bigger than him. But the fact is that I saw it in my own pet. get better by administering, cannabinoids to him. And this was something that came up in Nevada several years ago. Their legislature, some of their more liberal legislators, wanted to put up a bill to allow pet access to their medical marijuana system. Think about all the people who have dogs with cancers, and cats. People in America love their pets. And my wife always says to me, America loves babies and puppies. And the fact is that people will break their backs for them. I mean, people are even having ridiculous arguments on social media now as to why they're not getting a stimulus check for their fur babies.
Well, shit, man, you actually just reminded me of something that actually ties everything together, because we have Giselle down in Miami who has Bruno, who
Pray for Bruno.
Yeah, so Bruno has a severe form of epilepsy and tons of seizures all the time. Cannabis is the only thing that helps. And in the process of figuring out that cannabis is the only thing that helps, doctors were actually trying to prescribe veterinary medicine to Bruno. So here's the thing, that going back to the THC cap, we have doctors in Florida that are already trying to get more cannabinoids to 5-year-old kids because they have debilitating conditions of the mind.
Well, right after I got out of college,
Of the brain, excuse me.
no problem. Right after I got out of college, I did a stint with a company called Park Davis. And I would be what was called a detail man. I used to go to various doctors' offices and recommend the products that they had there. And I found sometimes the only way to get into a doctor's office is to give them a supply of Dilantin for their dogs, especially poodles. Because at that point in time, that is what they were giving to dogs for epilepsy, which was the Dilantin, which was one of the standards for people at that point in time too. Didn't work that well. But if you take a look at just medical statistics, you will find that the incidence of epilepsy, the incidence of cancer, and the incidence of a whole other diseases actually increased tenfold after the turn of the century, starting in the 1930s. What a surprise. It's about the same time when they started taking cannabis out of the food stock, out of the food cycle. Then we all started getting these diseases and things of that sort. And pets deteriorated too, because we make their food for them. Now, a lot of them aren't going out there foraging for themselves. And that's basically where we stand.
So this whole, the THC cap, it's passed a committee.
Oh, you were talking about that now?
It's got to go through. It's still, that doesn't mean it's passed the House, right?
Yeah. People started freaking out on Tuesday night after it passed the first committee. But let's be certain, it has 3 committees it has to go through.
3 committees.
This was the first one. The next one is healthcare appropriations, and after that, appropriations. And the next healthcare appropriations scheduled meeting is this Wednesday. And there's been no agenda posted so far, so we don't know if it's going to be on that agenda.
Okay.
So I think if it's any heartening at all, is that on the Senate side, the first committee of record is supposed to be judiciary. And judiciary has already had, I think, 4 or 5 meetings so far, since the beginning of the session. And this one coming up on Monday, the expungement bill is on the agenda, but the cap bill is not. And yet, in the House, you could tell it's trying to be fast-paced to get it ahead of everything else, possibly to create a diversion away from the HB1 riot control bill, which is a very good possibility, because politics is all about PR and about buzz and things of that sort. And if you can move everybody's attention to another bill that they can get angry about, they might not notice what you're slipping in behind them. And it happens a lot.
And what's the possibility that it goes through like the Senate, if it even gets to that? Like the Senate traditionally has like just strike this down like all the time, right? Like
the Senate has been the fall point to the cap for the last 2 years. And in both cases, it was actually when it got to the floor at that point in time. They died. Those things died in messages.
Well, Gary, let's be clear about something though. In the last election, if we're going to talk about the makeup of the Florida legislature, you can't ignore the partisan politics of it. Everything about Tallahassee is partisan. And the Democrats actually lost seats in the last election here locally in the state of Florida. So, it's not like you're getting these libertarian-minded Republicans like Jeff Brandes getting elected up there. You're getting more and more of the the very conservative, Bible thumpers, if you will, who, will look at cannabis as the devil's lettuce. And that's a concern for a lot of folks. You know,
And we
it's not right to see more and more prohibitionists getting elected, and that's why I say to my Republican friends, our Republican viewers, those folks who are conservative watching, you have so much power in the state of Florida in your primaries by helping eliminate prohibitionists, because this again is not a Democratic or Republican issue. Cannabis is a green issue. The reason it stays illegal is because of money and because of the corruption in our politics and the corruption in our criminal justice system.
Now, as I mentioned to several people last week, and also a couple of other columns that I wrote, a lot of times politicians, their impetus for filing bills and for promoting bills can often have a lot to do with who is donating to their campaigns. And it is, I would say, an unofficial quid pro quo, perhaps. It's called an envelope and a wink kind of situation.
I worked in Tallahassee. I've seen those envelopes get slid into those pockets. I kid you not, man. I kid you not.
With the free beers and the envelopes being passed around.
Oh man, and at those parties, it was wild. I remember I was at one of those parties. I saw the envelopes being passed around in the jackets, and I was eating the shrimp at the buffet. You know, fat guys got to levitate towards the buffet. There's free shrimp.
They got good shrimp. Yeah.
I love a good buffet.
And I feel a tap. I feel a tap on my leg. And I was like, who's tapping me? I look down. There's a penguin at the party. And the penguin's asking me for a shrimp from the buffet.
Oh, he wasn't asking you for donation?
No, but the fact that we're at a party and they got live penguins walking around the backyard, there's envelopes being changed, there's multiple open bars. It's 28 degrees outside in February, but they got heaters everywhere, and you see the most powerful, most movers and shakers throughout Tallahassee from both parties and industry, to be clear, and industry, just shaking hands and see those envelopes moving back and forth. It is no wonder why we, the people, can at 71% of the populace, the electorate, if you will, vote for Amendment 2, support medical cannabis, and then we see our politicians doing something totally different for the past 5 years. It is infuriating to no end as a red-blooded American who believes in this country, in our process, to see it perverted the way it has. And the fact is that, you know, we the people are the only ones who can do anything about it. And that's why we need each and every one of you all who are listening, who are commenting, who are tuning in to get involved into the political process. Contact your state representative, contact your state senator, tell them to vote no on the THC cap bill. Call the committee chairmen and tell them don't let it see the light of day. I said this earlier today on another radio show. There are some great bills that Gary has had a personal hand in writing, that I've had a hand in writing, that our other normal chapters have been pushing through, other great nonprofits out there like Minorities for Medical Marijuana that have been working towards expanding our medical marijuana system to make it better, expanding qualifying conditions, making sure that veterans don't have to pay for a medical marijuana ID card, ensuring that patients have a bill of rights where you're not evicted from your housing or precluded from a job because you're a medical marijuana patient. And those bills are not seeing the light of day. Those bills are not getting hearings. Our employment protection bill, the good Senator Ray Rodriguez, who is the Senate sponsor of this THC cap bill, won't let employment protection see the light of day, but he's willing to move THC caps forward. That in itself, I can't support that type of politics in any way, shape, or form, regardless of what party it's coming out of.
Yeah, these bills are not dead, mind you. There's other strategies you can use, including amending a bill that's already going through with a strong amount of support and trying to get it in. Now, as we saw this last Tuesday, a lot of times people who try to put bills onto amendments that are of bills that are bad, but they're trying to make better, and they're not of the same party, will often hear their amendment being called unfriendly. And people were outraged by this term, but it's basically a legal term, which means it was not done with the approval of the person who wrote the bill. And in this particular instance, all the amendments that came through, including adding sickle cell anemia as a qualifying condition, adding cocaine dependent, opioid dependency, and also dropping the cap, and all the other things. Those things were just automatically called unfriendly and were automatically voted down by everybody except for, by all, a little surprising, Representative Killebrew from Polk County, who actually voted in favor of the amendments, but he did vote in favor of the bill, and so the bill did pass. I just want to bring out a little piece of paper here that I printed up before I left. Now, again, we can't say for certain that a person who donates a contribution to a particular representative is going to get their way. Okay, they don't always change the course of the legislation, but I would want to take a look at who are the people who actually gave contributions to Representative Roche. I'm only going to look at the ones that are over $1,000, and you get things like GeoCare. Now, GeoCare happens to be the people who are in charge of the private prison industry. I don't know why they call it care. I think it should just drop that word and be a little more honest about it. It's just Geo. It's just the prison industry. And well, who else do we have here besides beer distributors? He actually sponsored a bill a couple of years ago that prevented people who had home breweries from being able to sell their product on consignment to breweries and bars. So I guess that would mean that the legal alcohol industry would actually get more business. It sounds like that would be that way. HCA East, HCA North, that's the Gray Robinson. There's a lot of lobbyists here who actually take care of a lot of the prohibitionist industries. And of course, there is various pharmaceutical industries as well. I love the Trump Republican Club. They're always around when you need them there. There's Geo Group as well. And Suncoast Beverage Sales, a lot of alcohol industries, pharmaceutical industries, people who are involved in the treatment industry. These are the things that can tip how a representative actually puts in legislation. Now, interesting. One of the things that Spencer Roach did during his thing, he said, we need to be concerned about the children. We need to be concerned about the health of our kids. Now, in 2020, when there was what is called the T21 bill, which was going to make the minimum age to buy tobacco at 21, Roche was involved very heavily in a conversation to carve out an exception for veterans. So those in the armed forces and those who are already veterans can buy tobacco at age 18. Now, doesn't that kind of like negate his whole concern over the health of our youth when he's saying we should allow more of our youth to be able to smoke tobacco because that's so much better for them?
It's hypocritical.
And this coming from a tobacco addict, trust me, guys, I know I was head of the.
I also maintain a tobacco license for my business.
Just to be able to support your habit.
I stopped selling cigarettes. I just got it for the blunts.
Oh, there you go.
I just want to sell tobacco leaves to put
blunts.
Cannabinoids in.
That sounds like a segue, Chris. What do you think? He mentioned blunts.
Well, I would say this much: there's been a lot of discussion, around the board table as to which of us on the Suncoast Normal board can roll the best blunt. And yeah, Carlos says he can. Our comms director said he can. Gary, you seem to be you seem to be a modern space age toker. You like the vape pens, I see. So,
I do like the vape pen. However, I do roll, and that's the way I roll.
Well, I would say this much.
I love packing cones. I think packing cones is a fun little activity you can do while doing some Netflix and chill kind of thing.
Yeah, packing cones can be therapeutic. And the fact is that I know that this is a discussion that comes up among circles of friends all the time who partake in cannabis together, who can roll the best blunts. In some circles, there's a designated blunt roller. You're like, it's already decided. Well, you know what? We want to decide here and now in our own community who can roll the best blunt in the Bay. So we are going to have a competition, a 420 celebration, the weekend before 420 on April the 16th. It's a Friday evening at Chillum. We're going to have the best blunt in the Bay rolling competition. If you think you got the chops to be crowned best blunt in the Bay, to be the best roller that there is out there, come on down. You can enter into the contest and be crowned that. If you want to be a judge, if you have more discriminating tastes and you want to be a part of that, we have judges passes available as well. You can go on to suncoastnormal.org, get all the event details, and register to either be a competitor or become a judge. And for our Suncoast Normal members out there, it is free general admission for you to come in. That is a membership benefit. And for anybody who does want to come and join, and you can become a member of Suncoast Normal. You can purchase a general admission membership ticket, which comes with an annual 1-year membership to our chapter. Again, this is going to be an amazing event. You don't want to miss it. Members get in free. So come on down to Chillum April 16th for the best blunt in the Bay competition.
Is this event going to have a backyard vibe to it?
It's totally gonna have a backyard vibe to it, and I gotta admit, I think it's honorable that you guys think that I should not enter the contest, because already being the best blunt roller in Florida,
and being
it
Cuban
just wouldn't be fair
in Ybor City. Yeah,
to-
that's kind of you're kind of a ringer.
it just wouldn't be fair to the rest of the Bay to have the best blunt roller in Florida enter this competition, because you guys all suck at rolling blunts.
Yeah,
To me.
the tarantula method, they named it after Carlos.
What?
No.
Gary,
No, in
Man's
Ybor
got 9
City,
fingers. I don't know what it is.
Ybor City is the home of cigar rolling. There are some of the best blunt rollers in the history of history that have been around here in Ybor City. My grandmother used to tell me this all the time. It's been about a year since she passed, and Nani, I miss you so much. But I took those words to heart. One day she said, "Look, I've been rolling blunts longer than you've been alive." And so shout out to my grandmother, and one of the best blunt rollers of all time. It was since passed away. I wish she was still with us, Carlos. I would put you head up with her any day. West Tampa, Ybor City would represent in this competition.
You're not understanding though, because like rolling a cigar and rolling a blunt, two different things.
Yeah, you tend to not use tobacco in a blunt.
Well, there's the tobacco leaf, but
Yes.
rolling that leaf around the sticky,
Yeah,
and understanding the densities and the humidity and understanding how the blunt needs to be rolled. And I've been rolling blunts since the big ass Dutch masters, since before bro.
The big one.
one knows all the El Presidentes.
You have to understand, all these fools rolling backwoods out here. I used to have to make a backwood by cutting down a freaking giant blunt leaf, because that's all I had.
Or the grape blunt wraps, yeah, or mint or whatever it works. But you left out some of the best things that you don't forget. When you become a member Suncoast Normal, you get this really neat gold pin that if you put on your jacket or on your coat, and you go into the supermarket and people ask you, "Hey, I like your pin," then you can say, "Yeah, you want to know where I got it?"
Let's zoom in on Kano there.
There you go. And you get this what else do we get, Bob? What else?
You get the membership card.
There you go. And this genuine Suncoast Normal mask to let people know exactly where you came from. The other day I was at the Strawberry Festival in Plant City, because the wife, who's kind of down for the count right now with a hip replacement, said, "I need my strawberries and my strawberry milkshake and my strawberry shortcake and my strawberry yada, yada, yada." So she gave me a list. I drove down to Plant City, and I walked around with my Suncoast Normal mask on. From Plant City, because and people were just saying,
it's a glitch in the
"Wow,
matrix."
you're from Suncoast Normal. Let's talk." Because people are concerned, people are interested, and people in Representative Roche's district are concerned over what he's doing to their medicine. So possibly this Wednesday, or possibly a bit later, the next committee meeting for this in the House is going to happen, and we need to have our ducks in the row. If you want to testify, you can. If you want to go ahead and just get online and fill out a form and saying that you do not support the bill, you can do that as well, and not actually be here to testify. But we need to make certain that they know exactly how we feel about that the cost of this is far greater than any advantage they're thinking it is actually going to come from this bill. I'm not even certain what advantage I think there is, because there is no study out there saying that if you lower THC, the amount of psychosis out there and mental disease drops. There is none. Absolutely none. So this 10% cap, it's an arbitrary number. It's a capricious event.
Yeah, they're just trying to fucking control you. That's all they're trying to do.
Well, and from the way that Roche talks, he obviously is not talking about patients. I don't think he has any clue about what this does for patients, because what he said is that you guys out there are basically drug seekers. And
goddamn potheads.
No, just drug seekers looking to get high, and the doctors are looking to become rich. Well, first off, I don't have a problem with doctors making a decent living. I don't know why Representative Roche is worried about that. The average radiologist makes a heck of a lot more than the average cannabis doctor. I can guarantee you that. So as far as being rich is concerned, they're making no more money than the average doctor out there.
That just sounds like somebody who's just completely out of touch with reality, because doctors are already rich. Like, doctors already make more money than most of the population of Florida. So how does this guy understand what's going on with Floridians?
And why would he pick on this particular specialty? There's no medical specialty out there that is prohibited from advertising. But this is what this bill creates, a situation which is actually almost a First Amendment right, that they are not allowed to advertise their own business. And there's no other medical specialty that is banned from advertising. And in fact, cannabis is legal in Florida for medicinal use. So therefore, they are not advertising anything illegal. And so therefore, there should not be a cap on THC or a cap on physician advertising. That is just wrong. And that is just another bad effect of this particular bill. And it also says that kids over the 18, 20 under 18 rather, can only have CBD. They can't have THC at all. It has to be no more than 0.3. And again, there are kids out there with Crohn's disease that will need a heck of a lot more THC. I obviously have to go through more steps to get an exception from their doctor if they can get it at all. And these things take time. And when you have Crohn's disease, time is not on your side. You have to make certain that you get treated on a regular basis to take care of that. I get so exorbitant, but that is where we are. We have a good bill coming up on Monday. Pay attention to it in regards to its expungement. I think it's something which is desperately needed. And I'm hoping that will go through. The cap bill is still going through on the House side right now. We need to make certain we knock that sucker down.
Even though I was knocking the expungement thing, like there's still a lot of people who benefit,
Yeah, for those folks who say, why do I have to wait to get expunged? There are people who had this on the records for decades, and it has destroyed them for decades.
Gary, there are people still in jail for decades over this plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. So, I mean, are we fucked or not?
Well, here's the thing.
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to our politics, we're in a lot of trouble. It is going to be literally a handful of individuals that are going to decide whether or not this goes through. It could come down to one or two committee chairmen, and then of course the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. There are rules that say a bill technically only has to go through one committee, and then the Speaker or the President of the Senate can then expedite it to the floor. So there is still the possibility that if the leadership of the Florida GOP, and I have to be partisan because the Republicans have control of the Senate, they have control of the House, they have control of the governor's mansion. So I want to be clear about this right now, is that if this THC bill,
mention the rules.
Yeah, if this THC bill goes through, it is because the Florida GOP wants it. And the fact is that if that's the case, if that's how they feel, then make them pay for it at the ballot box. Okay, get primary these guys in the Republican Party who are prohibitionists, elect people in the general election who are not prohibitionists. And this is how we can change the face of our government. But as long as there is a majority of prohibitionists out there, as long as prohibition and the donors of certain political luminaries continue in this state, to be, anti-cannabis, we're in for a world of hurt. I mean, Gary, one of the adversaries well known across the world, Sheldon Adelson, who recently passed away, casino mogul, very big in the cannabis industry in Israel, but very big about preventing cannabis from moving forward here in the United States, actually donated a lot of money to prevent Amendment 2 from happening, to prevent from what we're doing here, and help elect these prohibitionists that are currently in office. We have to do better as voters of being educated, and we have to vote these prohibitionists out, and we have to get involved beyond elections. Contact your state representative, contact your state senator, tell them to kill this bill. The THC caps is such a bad bill.
Yeah, Sheldon Adelson, who, by the way, had a remarkable resemblance to Jabba the Hutt. He gave tons of money to the opposition, which is interesting because he was also giving tons of money to research in Israel to look for treatments of nerve disorders, because he, in fact, was unable to walk over the last decade or so because of a nerve disorder that was destroying his ability to use his legs. And so he was very self-serving, and he knew that this was a medicine, and yet politically he found it important to go ahead and give money to prohibitionists to move forward conservative agendas and things of that sort. And even though he's gone but not forgotten, his memory is rotten. And we know that there'll be somebody behind him at all times to continue to start up the flame. We know the assemblers who had straight ink are still involved in this particular legislature. We know that pharmaceutical industries and folks like Smart Approaches to Marijuana and Kevin Sabet and all those folks who were backed up by the pharmaceutical industry with him are behind all this. And we know that they are being self-serving. They are not considering the important needs of cannabis patients across the state. And those are the people we are concerned about. And if you want to be part of the cure to this illness we have in our legislature, we're going to need your help. We're going to need your membership. We're going to need your talent. So your time and your treasure. The three T's that'll bring you to heaven. And we need you to be a part of Suncoast Normal. Now, if you want to go to our blunt thing, it is free for members. So if you get a membership prior to the event, you will get the pin, you will get the mask, and you'll get a chance to come to our and the card. Yes, absolutely. The normal card. Be a card-carrying member of Normal, and you will amaze your friends.
There's nothing better than smoking blunts at a normal event. Just saying. Let's end it.
And in addition, well, hold on, I don't want to end just right there. I do want to add some more value to our members, understanding that we got this great free event for our members, the best blunt debate coming up, but also we do a lot of education for our membership. And so this Wednesday, I'll actually be co-hosting a medical marijuana awareness seminar on utilizing glaucoma to treat, medical marijuana to treat glaucoma with one of our business partners, Medical Marijuana Awareness Seminars. So there's a link there in the chat. Feel free to click on it, RSVP, if you're interested. We do help co-host weekly webinars online free of charge about a variety of topics for our members. It's free. So please, by all means, become a member of Suncoast Normal. Take advantage of your member benefits. Another great member benefit is a discount there at Chillum, Glass Gallery and CBD dispensary in Ybor City. So, Carlos has a great array of products, amazing glass pipes, and of course, if you're a blunt smoker, he has some of the best blunts in town. So,
and we are not supported by MMTCs. We don't have any money coming from those people who are currently in the cannabis industry on the MMTC side. Not that we wouldn't like the money, but we have not taken any of the money at this point in time.
We are not opposed to generosity and donors. As a matter of fact, we do have donors that donate every month to us. Shout out to all to the amazing donors who give what they can to support. Whether you can give $5, $10, $50, But we're a membership-based organization. Our membership drives our agenda. Our membership drives all the great events and projects that we're working on. And we just ask that you join us and be a part of making history.
And you can catch us on suncoastnormal.org, as well as our Facebook page, and find out more about what's going to be happening this next week in regards to the bills and things of that sort. We will keep you educated. Be a member, be in the know.